Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk, DFS and Prize Picks Selection Podcast. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. It is Friday, April the 15th, 2022, and we are down to the last two play-in games to get into the NBA playoffs tonight. It's the early game of the Atlanta Hawks against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the late game is the New Orleans Pelicans and Los Angeles Clippers. Appreciate all of you joining us today. We're going to go over some of our top picks here, break down the two games a little bit, and also give you some selections prize picks wise as well. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor for this podcast, and that would be Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com, sign up with the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space, and you receive a dollar for dollar match all the way up to $100 on that first deposit. Make sure to use that promo code Coach Talk. And if you haven't tried Prize Picks, this is a great time to do it. They have tons of selections in baseball and golf, and then of course all throughout these NBA playoffs as well. All right, if you'd like to join us at DFS Coach Talk and get a little bit deeper dive look, a lot deeper dive, I should say, in what we do here at Coach Talk, you can join us by going to dfscoachtalk.com. We have multiple memberships, including, as you can see, scrolling on the bottom of the screen, we have a 3-day pass for only $10. So let's have you jump in and give us a try. This is our hottest time of the year the last 2 years, this mid-April through early May with the NBA playoffs going, and of course the baseball season in full gear. So come and join us, give us a try, and let's make some money. All right, the two games today. The first one, as I said, it's a 7:30 game. It's on ESPN. And it is the Atlanta Hawks favored by 2 on the road at the Cleveland Cavaliers. We do have some big news in this game. By the way, it's a 223.5 total. So it's better than the second game, which is a 215.5 total. So a little bit different here. You know, when you're talking 7.5 points, that's a difference. So Hawks, Cavs getting a check mark here for the better game DFS-wise, at least at this point. The big news, as I said, is it looks like we're going to get Jared Allen making an attempt to play here. He's been out with a broken finger for quite some time. I would assume his cardio's good since, you know, it's a finger. It's not a lower extremity. So, you know, there's no question if he's going and that finger is playable, you know, 20, 25 minutes makes perfect sense for Allen here. And it does change everything, really does, because that interior of the Cleveland defense without Allen has really taken a big step back. You know, their defensive scheme and the reason they've been in the basically top 7 all year, defensive efficiency wise, is Allen has been that anchor in the paint. And that allows Mobley to defend a little bit more away from the basket as a 7-footer. And it just puts things in order for that defense. Without him, they have given up a lot more points. So his presence should make a difference. And this should be a good game. I really think, I don't think Atlanta's going to smack them as a lot of people are suggesting, but not Vegas with that 2-point spread. Other injuries here, that really the only important one is for the Hawks, and that's Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic is questionable, and he's an important piece to them off the bench, the instant offense, and a big scorer. So whether he can go or not will definitely have an effect on that rotation. Sean D. Brown is questionable. We know John Collins and Lou Williams have been out. They remain out. And other than Allen, nobody else is listed on that injury report. A couple of things of note. Atlanta's pace throughout the year is 19th. Cleveland's is 27th. So nothing to write home about there. Defensive, Atlanta's struggled all year, 26th in defensive efficiency. Cleveland, on the other hand, 7th. But again, they've had a tough finish to the year the last month, specifically without Allen, and then just seem to get tired defensively. But I'm sure they'll muster all they can for this game, and it should be an outstanding game. As far as, where we can look at this game for the scoring piece, is just the norm here. You go to the two guys that really have gotten you to this point, and that's Trae Young, who's 9-7 on DraftKings, and Darius Garland at 8-5. They're going to be the volume shooters for their teams. There's no question about it. They're somewhat expensive, where there are some other pay-ups on the slate. Really, to me, you're looking, when you talk about that pool of pay-up guys, Young and Garland, along with CJ McCollum and Paul George. You can count Brandon Ingram in there possibly as well. That's the group that you're going to have to make some decisions on, because the pricing, it's not outrageous. We don't have any, jokers or Lucas or Embiids or, the 12K kind of guys. But looking at that upper tier, and just from a DraftKings perspective, Trae Young's 9-7, Darius Garland's 8-5, which really is a bargain. CJ McCollum is 8-9, which is a bargain. Ingram's 7-8, which is cheap. And Paul George is 10K flat, which for him and the way he dominates the ball for them is also cheap. So you can make it work with probably 3 of these guys. You're going to have to get some serious value toward the bottom of your lineup, but those are the key guys for sure. I will probably be making the decision and rostering 2 of them on DraftKings to try to fill in with solid enough guys that I can, look for them to score 20 plus fantasy points for the rest of the roster. It's a little bit different story on FanDuel and Yahoo, where the pricing is different and you can get that extra player in there in a lot of spots. So there'll be a lot of strategy for these 2 games. They're both close spreads, so it's very interesting. I agree on the Trae Young, Darius Garland look. I think they're solid plays here. Trae is my favorite play in this game. I think he steps up. I don't really respect the backcourt defense of Cleveland very much at all, and I think it's hard to not play Trae in an elimination game. By the way, the winner of these 2 games completes the playoffs as the 8th seed in the East or the West, and the loser goes home. It's all over. So this is all the cards on the table kind of basketball, which is the most fun, definitely, to watch. And we know Trae has stepped up and gotten it done. This is a new experience for the Cleveland guys. They have not been in any type of playoff run whatsoever, or even tasted it until now. So edge, to Young and the Hawks here, who had made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, if you remember. A couple other picks, let's see what Bogdanovic's status is. If he's going to play, then at 5-7, if he's playing without restrictions, you can give him a run because he can score the basketball. He is a little points dependent, but he can score it. If he sits, it's really going to help Kevin Huerter at 4-9. DeAndre Hunter at 5-1 would be the 2 that would prosper the most if he sat. Both in play as value plays for me. Also, Danilo Gallinari falls in that same role at 4-7. I think it's a little tougher go for him with Mobley and Allen both in there defensively again. With Allen, I expect to give it a go. So Gallo at 4-7, tempting, but not as much as I have looked at him before when the Cavs were a little thinner in that front court. Other than that, from the Cleveland side, you have that option of Karis LeVert at 6'5". He's not a giveaway, but certainly has a big ceiling. He can be looked at as a potential play here. Same with Lauri Markkanen, and he's even cheaper now at 5'5", which just seems too cheap for a guy, that can go 20 and 10 for you. So Markkanen high on my list. I don't believe I'm going to go to Mobley or Allen. I think having Allen back is going to take some of the rebounds, stocks, a little bit of the interior scoring away from Mobley. And I'm not sure, with Allen missing so long, just to roll a dice on him. We don't know how many minutes for sure he's going to play yet. Can't imagine he's going to play 38 minutes or something without playing at all. I know it's an elimination game, but they're going to be realistic with him. They still have Kevin Love off the bench to fill one of the big spots, and some other guys as well. So more so on the Garland, Markkanen side for me, on the Cleveland side, the possibility of LeVert if he fits. All right, let's go to game 2 here. Before we do that, if you're watching on YouTube right now, this is our only ask. We do this podcast 7 days a week in front of the paywall. We ask you take a second on YouTube, literally a second, hit that thumbs up. If you do that, hit the subscribe button. And then while you're at it, hit that little alarm in the upper corner. That will let you know when any of our podcasts post. We have podcasts every day, DFS and prize picks for basketball and baseball. We have them for golf, and our podcasts are posting all the time. If you want to watch them, we record them so that they're sitting there podcast wise. You can watch them whenever you want. And, we'll also put timestamps when the games are on there, when we have multiple games. So it gives you a good opportunity to scout out what you'd like. So take that second, give us a thumbs up. We really do appreciate that. And also the subscribe button makes a big difference for us. We're approaching 2,000 subs, which is a lot, and we're excited about that. We want to try to push to get there during these NBA playoffs. All right, game 2 is a 10 o'clock game, and that one's going to switch over to TNT. It's the New Orleans Pelicans and Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers are a 4-point favorite. It's a 215.5 total. 105.75 implied for the Pels, 109.75 implied for the Clippers. So pretty close, a little bit higher in the Atlanta Hawks Cavs game, where Atlanta's 112.5 implied and Cleveland's 110.5 implied. So pretty tight, low end of 105.75 for the Pels, and then the high end of the 112.5 for the Hawks, and pretty close there in between. All right, as far as injury designations, we have Zion Williamson remains out, although they showed highlights of him warming up, taking shots, a couple of windmill power dunks. He looked pretty good. He didn't look super heavy, and he looked like he was moving well. So who knows if they find a way to win this game and move on. Never know if we could see Zion pop up in a game somewhere in these playoffs. With the Clippers, obviously we know that Kawhi Leonard and Mr. Jason Preston are out. The news for the rotation for Clippers, though, is Luke Kennard is questionable. So not a massive piece of news, but enough that it does affect that rotation of shooting guards like the Trey Mans and Amir Coffees, etc. So something to keep an eye on with Luke Kennard. As far as statistics during the season, pace, nothing to write home about again in this game. 21st and 18th, respectively, these two teams. Defensively, the Pels have struggled at 20th, but they have gotten a little bit better this end of the season. Clippers have stayed in the top 10. Hats off to them. They are 8th defensively. So Clippers 4-point favorite here. Again, these two games are both a toss-up in my book. I think you could go a lot of different directions. The obvious, CJ McCollum at 8-9. He's playing really good basketball. And his running mate, Brandon Ingram, at 7-8. Those two guys are priced very fair for two guys that are dominating play for their team. The third wheel in that whole mix is Jonas Valanciunas at 8K, which, gives them that third option. It definitely takes a little bit away. When you have three guys sharing the spotlight, it's a little bit tougher to commit to some of that salary, and that's why they're cheaper. But at 8-9 for McCollum, he's still well in play for me. Ingram did look good in this last game. He's probably going to grab some Paul George defense, which isn't that easy, though. And then Joval, certainly a consideration. If you want to go on the cheap, the two options that make sense are Herb Jones at 4.8 and Jackson Hayes at 4.3. They've been getting solid minutes. And then Jose Alvarado at 4.3. You've got to mention him. I mean, he comes in and he just scores some points. He always gets steals. He's a spark plug that's getting more and more minutes. He was a secret last guy in for me, sort of a secret squirrel play the last game. A lot of people didn't know with, the season on the line, would he get decent minutes? And he did off the bench. So he's a good GPP shot or last man in shot at 4.3. For the Clippers, it's all about Paul George, 10K. He's my favorite play on the slate of these two games. Just don't know how you get away from him at all. I mean, he's their go-to guy in every aspect. He's not only going to get a bunch of points, he'll get some rebounds, assists, some stocks. I mean, it's Paul George, and he's looking pretty solid. I think he steps up here. He's definitely my play of the day. No hot take there, but you take what the slate gives you. After that, it's so difficult. The Clippers, and we talk about it every day, but it's the same. It's very, very hard to tell if you're going to get a contribution that helps you win it from a Reggie Jackson at 6.1, from a Marcus Morris at 5K, from a Nick Batum at 4.2, a Zubac who really disappointed us last time out at 5.4, which is dirt cheap, Norman Powell at 5.3 off the bench. Terrence Mann's only 4.1. We don't know if Kennard's going to play. And then you're going to get some Covington at 4.5. And then the guy that was very popular last game, Isaiah Hartenstein at 4.6. So again, you've got a plethora of choices for the Clippers, none that make you just jump up and down and say, I'm thrilled I have these guys rostered. But, somebody's going to have to step up alongside George here if they're going to beat the Pelicans. So, will that be Jackson at 6.1? That's a fair price. I have a tendency to gear towards Marcus Morris in bigger games, and he's only 5K. He certainly has a ceiling, but all of these Clippers, other than George, have shown a pretty low floor. So I'll pull the trigger on one of them, but I am not going to go overboard with the Clippers by any means. So we know what we're getting today. And the question is going to be, the guys that you buy up to, are they going to show up and in an elimination game get it done? And I think we have some clutch guys like Trae Young and Paul George. CJ McCollum's clutch as well. He hasn't had super deep runs before in the playoffs. So, and neither is Ingram. So it's a little bit different look for the Pels. And same thing for Cleveland, just new experiences. So, those veterans in these type of games, you really do have to count on them to get it done, because they know, what that feels like. And whatever anybody tells you about watching NBA basketball, when it's an elimination game in the NBA playoffs, and even though this is the play-in tournament, still basically a playoff entry round, you're going to get some guys where experience shows, and it's a good step up opportunity for those right on the cusp. So should be two great games. I love the fact that they'll be super competitive with everything on the line. All right, let's take a look at our prize picks plays today. We have two from our man, Josh Crash Davis. His first choice is Paul George over 3.5 made threes. I think that's a terrific play. And his top choice is CJ at 25.5 points over. Those are real points, 25.5 over CJ McCollum. Those are his two top prize picks plays of the day. My two top prize picks plays of the day, they erase them on me here. So I have to look them back up, make sure that they are up there. I should have just written them down, but I wanted to make sure we had proper numbers. So mine is going to be points scored for Capella 12.5 under. That is my number one pick. Clint Capella under 12.5 real points scored. I want to make sure that hasn't changed. Oh, I'm sorry, 13.5. I misspoke. So Clint Capella under 13.5 real points is my number one play. And then my number, and the reason that is, by the way, is the presence of Jared Allen and the fact that Allen and Mobley will be in there. I think because Capella had a really good game the last time out, I think you're going to see some regression there. He really only gets lobs and putbacks. He's not anybody that they're going to run anything specifically for almost ever. So I think that is a very good play there. I really do. My second play, I'm going to go over my best play of the day, Paul George, 40.5 points, rebounds, assists. So PRA 40.5 over Paul George. I think he shows up. I don't think they have a good answer for him defensively. I expect him to get extended run in a close game, and I feel he busts 40.5 PRA. I have him at 43 PRA, so I feel really good about that play as well. All right, that is it. You've got everything wrapped up into one here. The last play-in game for to start the playoffs tomorrow. A couple pieces of news I wanted to mention real quickly also is we've got, it looks like Steph Curry's going to be in for the playoffs this weekend. I just read that we may actually have a Ben Simmons sighting. They're saying he may play in this first round of the playoffs. And then I know Dirk's been crying over here, wrong shoulder. Looks like Luka may not play in this first game with that sore calf that he hurt in the last 30 seconds of his play with a 26-point lead. So explain that one to me. I don't know. But if Luka cannot go, it makes that series Utah-Dallas completely different. So we'll keep our eyes on that. We're going to follow all the news, beat writers, all of the information, and we will be updating constantly in our Discord. We'd love to have you join us. Jump on in with us. Go to dfscoachtalk.com. Sign up for even as little as a 3-day pass for $10. You'll get all of our sports, baseball, basketball, golf, everything that we have to offer. We will share that information and look to just get out the brooms and sweep it this weekend. So dive in with us. We'd love to have you. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Prizepicks. Prizepicks.com. Use the promo code CoachTalk. Get a 100% match all the way up to $100 on that first deposit. All right. Thank you so much for listening in. We'll be back with a good extensive podcast tomorrow for day one of the real NBA playoffs on Saturday. I'll be joining Gundacker live for an afternoon podcast to discuss as well. And then on Sunday, we get Deb back. Our lady Deb is back from vacation. She'll be jumping on with me for the Sunday NBA pod as well. Check out Crash and I here for the MLB pod, Prize Picks and DFS coming up later today. All right. Thanks again for joining in. Have a fantastic Friday. This is going to be a great 3-day weekend. For some, it's a 4-day weekend for some with the Easter holiday. So let's have a lot of fun and enjoy it. Really appreciate all of you joining in and have an absolutely terrific day. We'll be back again later when we look to crush it in DFS.